Good afternoon and welcome to the Inventive Marketing Club number 12. And on this Christmassy edition, it's not really Christmassy, we're going to be looking at Google My Business, and I'm going to be taking a walkthrough, really, going through the platform, showing how it works from start to finish. There's features you will know, there's some new features in there. So what I suggest is if anyone's listening to this live or the recording, maybe use this opportunity to go through your listing at the same time and make sure it's up to date and that you explore all the different features. So yeah, we are really going through from claiming your listing all the way through to categories and optimizing it where possible. Just an intro to the club. We've been doing it for, this is the 12th one. We've been doing it all year. It was a new idea that I had. I've had it for many years, but didn't know how to start it. I'm really pleased that I managed to do 12 of them, one a month, hour-length videos. And I hope they've been interesting to everyone. Do let me know if not. Do let me know if they are. Hopefully next year, what I'm going to do is put a survey together and get your feedback on what you found interesting and what did and didn't work. But essentially, for those new to listening to this, the Inventive Marketing Club is a way for everyone to get together either live or just listen to the recording afterwards and use this opportunity as a way to assess your marketing and whatever the topic is, to use that as a way of doing slightly more. So with this particular one, you can use it to improve your Google profile or Google My Business profile. It also, for me, I like these sort of things because they help just keep me motivated. It gives me new ideas, new inspiration. I feel that I'm not alone in this journey in marketing. I love getting into the details. So if that helps you get over technical hurdles, then brilliant. And we're trying to make it more of a community as well. So there's lots of people involved, but it'd be great for more people to ask questions, not just of me, but of anyone else in the community. So really, this is what we're trying to foster here. I did mention this before, but I'll mention it again. We've got a new clubhouse. This is all based in Basecamp. You've got access to all previous webinars there, whatever point you join, including tools, apps, and resources that we use in our business or have been recommended to us. So here's a quick little read through. So this is looking at a little message, just pointing people in the right direction. We've also got all the documents and files where you can go to see every single club webinar, other workshop handouts. So if I produce other workshops or done other talks that aren't exactly relevant to this Inventive webinar, but they are relevant to marketing, then they go in there as well. We've got a really good marketing checklist, which takes you through from newbie to pro, really, in terms of just getting started in marketing. In fact, there's a link to ticked off there if you want to take things a little bit further. And then tools, apps, and resources. So basically everything we come across, or I've recommended one of my coaching sessions, that goes in there if we find it useful. Lots of stuff. Anyway, so questions as normal. I suggest that if there are any questions that come up, I'll try and pose them and then I'll answer as I go along. In this webinar, because it's a walkthrough, I'm going to be sharing my screen, so I won't be able to see those questions until the very end. So, but do post them if you have any. I'll be happy to answer them, especially if you're going along as we do this at the same time. Okay, so why use GMB or Google My Business? Well, it's the only way to get into the local map pack, or the local pack. So that's the first 3 local listings and a little map of where they are in a particular area. It's the only way to get in there. So, and they tend to come at the top of any Google listing. So it's in terms of organic ranking, you want to be in there because you're going to be at the top of the listing. It's also a small factor. I was looking on Moz, and it's a small factor in regular search optimization. It's only about 9%, but with all the other things and any sort of little edge you can get on your search optimization, the better. You get a knowledge panel as well. I'll show you an example of that in a minute, but it's just basically your business represented on the right-hand side of the Google search results if someone's searching for you directly. It allows you to collect reviews on that system, and you can get to control your map listing. And I think this is particularly important. So here's an example of the local pack. So searching for, say, accountant, Siren Sister, it's going to come up with the 3. Now, I won't say top rated, but 3 of the most relevant results that Google thinks should come up based on those who have Google My Business listings. So they'll come up there. And that broadly is going to be based on your distance from the perceived center. So in this case, Cirencester, where the center of Cirencester is and how far are you away from that, and the number of reviews you've got. They're sort of the main factors, along with potential keywords in your company name, the category you're in. That's going to help as well. But we'll go through all those little bits and bobs. So that's the local pack. And then moving on, we've got the knowledge panel. So this is where someone searches for a company name specifically, and if you've got a unique name, and this is where brand is really important. If you've got that unique name or brand, then you get this additional, effectively, search result with lots of useful information on the right-hand side. And I'm going to show you how to make sure you get the most of that knowledge panel when people do see you. I think most importantly with Google My Business, it's about staying in control. Anyone with a Google account could suggest an edit, post photos against your account, or ask awkward questions. If you can make sure you've got access to that, A, you know about people doing that. B, you also have a bit of a chance to get ahead of that by making sure that if there are any questions that need to be asked, then you ask them, or you ask your customers to ask them. You post enough photos so people don't feel they need to do that. You make sure everything's up to date so no one else needs to suggest any edits. However, this can be useful, as I'll touch on right at the very end. Okay, so I'm going to screen share, and I have no idea how long it's going to take. We could be under time, we could be over time, so this is a good deal. But so far, we've been 60 minutes pretty much every single time, so I will do my best to stick to that, but forgive me if not. Okay, so let's go into screen share. Brilliant, and I'm going to get rid of that so I won't be able to see anything anymore. Great. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through Google My Business, really starting from that beginning, that claiming your listing. Most people will probably have a listing, to be honest, because it will either have been made through Google purchasing data from other directory companies and sort of in the initial stages bringing that together. Because this Google My Business has been through many different iterations really to get to where it is now in terms of really bringing together business data online. So it's likely that even if you don't know about Google My Business, you probably have a listing on there. So the first thing to do really is to just check out your listing and see if you're available. So let's put ours in. If I can spell it correctly, but it's come up with 2 anyway. And now this is interesting. So we've come up with 2 listings here. Now we've got the first one, which is actually the original listing when we were based in Hereford. And now this is really frustrating because this listing keeps coming up. And even if I go in and suggest an edit and say, actually, this is a duplicate, this business is closed, we've actually moved over to this listing, which I keep doing, it keeps popping back up. So this could mean that either it's not accepting my edit on this, in which case I'll touch on this at the end of this presentation about how you might deal with that. And it's quite likely it's this. Or there is some other data that Google is getting, which is forcing it to recreate this listing. Now, some time ago, actually, my colleague Claire went through and tried to remove a lot of these old listings, which had our old address, either update them, delete them, close them. And it wasn't just on Google, it could be on any profiles out there, because there's lots of directory listings. So she went through and sort of really cleaned through a lot of those. So hopefully it's not sort of this polluted data that's out there that's given the wrong address. It's just simply, it just doesn't trust me. And we need to actually get more customers to go on there and do that. So we'll talk about that a bit later. If I go back and we'll search for Rather Inventive again. God, my spelling is atrocious. There you are, Rather Inventive, done it again. So we go to Rather Inventive, we actually find we have a listing. That's great, everything comes up as planned. And the important thing, the reason you want to do this is you don't want to create a brand new listing if you already have listings. What you want to do is go and claim your listing. Now, I can't see it on here because I've already claimed this listing. It's got this little title here. But if you just had a directory entry and you didn't have access to Google My Business, hadn't been set up yet, then it's likely that you'll see claim this business listing around in this area here, and that can take you through the same process. However, what we'll do is look at this another way. You can actually go to this URL, which is If you just search for Google My Business, then you come to this one, business.google.com, and then you want to go to manage, and you just log in, and then you can create your listing here. So at this point, you can select your company, type in your company details, select your company, and then you continue through the process of this. So making sure the company name is correct, making sure adding any additional details in the sort of initial setup phase. But we've already done that, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to skip on to the bit that once you've created your business, you'll be able to edit the details. The only thing that's a bit difficult to show you is the verification process. So going through and adding a new business, Google's going to ask you to verify your business. And this is really important because verifying your business ties your phone number and or an address to their listing. So they know that what they've got is absolutely accurate and that you are a business profile that really exists in real life. And that's incredibly important. So when you go through this process, make sure you do verify the listing. And I would actually verify the address if you can and get them to send you a little postcard. I don't know if it's any stronger in terms of verification, but I feel it's good to verify that. But you can also do it in terms of phone as well. So if we move on to getting our profile in order, I think if I move to this bit, we should take us there. So once you've set up a Google My Business profile, you will have a little dashboard that looks something like this. Lots of information going on here. I'm not really going to dive into a lot of this right now. What we're going to do is just go straight into the info panel on the left. Because I think the first thing to do is make sure that the main details that are shown on our profile are up to date and correct. And I'm just going to walk through them step by step. So we click on the info on the left-hand side. And the first thing I want to do is make sure our title is correct. Now you may have noticed, I'll see if I can bring it up here. I'm just going to show it here. No, it does show a little bit here. I experimented with adding additional keywords and location to the business title. I don't think that made any difference in terms of visibility at all. So I'm actually backtracking on that a little bit and just going for something simpler, rather inventive marketing, nice, clean and clear. And I did that earlier today actually when I was going through this, and it seems to have taken. And from my perspective, what's important here is not necessarily to put in your official company name. So that would be Rather Inventive Limited in this sense, but to give people a better idea about what your company is or does. So because we do marketing, I put Rather Inventive Marketing. If you were a bakery, then you might just call Hobbs. There's a local bakery called Hobbs around here. You might just call, rather than calling yourself Hobbs and Co Limited, let's say, you call yourself Hobbs Bakery. If you have multiple stores, this is where it slightly gets a little bit more tricky, is you may want to put the location after that because you've got a store. So it could be Hobbs Bakery, Cirencester, Hobbs Bakery, Stroud, and so on for all the different stores they've got. But if you're just really a brand who has one place of presence but operates in different areas, then just make sure you've got one entry which really highlights what you do. So to round that off, make sure it's got your full company name in there, and ideally, if you can possibly fit it in, keywords if it's relevant and they read well. So next we'll move on to categories. Now, I've got quite a few categories in here, and categories are really important because they can be part of the ranking factor and the reason that you might come up in search. But they also will change the attributes and the options that you have in Google My Business. So for example, if you are a shop, you will get different shop or bed and breakfast, something like that, you will get different options within Google My Business to if you're a service company like us. If you sell products, you're going to get different panels and areas as well. So make sure you choose the category correctly, particularly the primary category, which will set everything. So to do that, click on the little pencil. And in terms of category, all you need to do is just start typing. So all I started is with what we do, our sort of primary area. Just start typing marketing. And then we can start to see what comes up that's relevant. So actually agency, sort of fitted best, so we've got that. But I also noticed we've got marketing consultant. So let's select agency, as that was there before. And I could also add as an additional category marketing consultant, which you can see I've done. And I've added lots here: web designer, photography service, video editing, and so on. I don't know what the limit is to these categories. I was actually, just so I could share with everyone, I was having a search around. I couldn't find a limit to how many categories you've got on there. There probably is, but I don't know what it is. So I would try and add as many additional categories as you can that are still relevant to your business, because they will help get you that little bit of extra exposure. So in order to do that, you just keep adding categories down the bottom, and you can keep adding more and more to your business until you're satisfied with it. Usually when you make any changes to Google My Business, it puts it under review. And that could be an automatic review where it passes under a bot's nose to see whether they like it or not, or it could be bounced over to someone, a real person, who's just going to quickly look at it and make an assessment as to whether it feels right. I think most of the time it's going to be automatic, or it's going to be scanned under someone's nose pretty quickly. So as long as you're picking the right categories, or you're changing the information so it feels right and is comfortable, and you're not trying to cheat the system, I think there's going to be no problem with that. But just be aware that anything you change, there's going to be a delay before it goes live while it's being verified. Okay, so what's next? Moving on to location and service areas. So this is something that's changed a little bit more recently with Google. They used to have location, and then you could either hide your address. So if you're a company like me, where people don't come to visit you specifically, and I go out to their premises, then people don't need to see my address, but I do want to show how sort of far I can travel to get to go and see them. And that was fine, but didn't work particularly well. So actually now what they've done is change that to be service areas. And that can work quite well for me, because I can say I'm based in this particular area, but I can actually then service, say, Gloucestershire, Cirencester, Cotswolds. In fact, if we edit that, you can see all the different areas where I feel that I'm comfortable to be able to go into that area and work there. And it's usually based around, for me, between an hour and an a half travel. That's something I'm comfortable with. So I made sure I put all the areas in here that I wanted to. Now you've only got 20, so you have got to be a bit more careful about what you put in here. And if you need to, maybe go for broader counties rather than towns if you're running out. So that's one thing to look at, service areas. And these are very relevant for service-related businesses. However, if you're a shop, you have a store, or customers do come to see you, you do want to make sure that you fill in a location. Now, I haven't got this filled out, but you want to make sure that's filled in. So what I'm going to do is give you an example from local company Rave, who make great coffee. So I'm just going to put in their details, and you can see how this works. And they are in Cirencester. I'm going to add an extra detail here. Love Lane, that's our local industrial area, and their postcode. So let's put all those details in, and you can see as you do that, the map refines to the location. Now, what you want to do, so that's good, we've got the full address in there, but what we want to do is make sure the map pin is accurate, because it isn't always. So don't trust that Google has it right. There's many instances where I've looked where the map pin is in completely the wrong place. There was an architect in Hereford where it put the pin, I think, about 5 minutes above him on the road on the map, which was, that actually didn't help him, because he was further away from Hereford, or he was perceived to be further away from Hereford, but also people would drive to the wrong place. So if we zoom in a little bit, we can actually see Rave Coffee's already got a listing. Of course they have. But what I recommend is you put the pin near the front door, or near the sort of the nearest road entrance to that business. So it's very clear how people get to that business, particularly with driving. So all you need to do is just drag the pin. Let me zoom in a bit more. There we go. And I can just drag the pin to roughly where the door is. And that's going to help people find you. So if they're using any Google system, I don't know if Waze is linked to this, but certainly Google Maps, which is what a lot of people use, then you're going to make sure your address details are absolutely accurate and people can get to the right place. But I'm not going to save that because I'm not Rave Coffee, so we'll close that down. So just to reiterate, if you're just a service business, I would not put your location in, and I would just put in your service areas. If, however, you also have a location, so you like companies to come to you or customers to come to you, you're a shop, or you do have meeting space, then definitely put your location in as well. Okay, opening hours, I think that's fairly straightforward. I've put ours in there, 10 till 5, quite a relaxed day, although I do work from 9. I've just got, that's my focus time really, so I try not to be disturbed in that time. However, there is this area just beneath it where you can put in special hours, such as are you open on Christmas Day? And so I have gone in and said, no, I'm closed on those days. It's unfortunate it can't put in a range because really we're closed from the 22nd through till I think it's the 3rd of January. So that would be nice to put in a range. But I think these are key days where if you're a shop, you certainly want to say whether you're open or closed. And if you want to do that, you can just select open and just set the times that you're open from and to. That's not a particularly useful time, but you can basically set the time range you're open from that. I will also just give you an insight into this one as well. So you just click on the pencil and you can set the days of the week when you're open from and to. Quite straightforward. So anyone following along, hopefully you're going through just making sure everything's up to date. Sometimes opening hours are a bit skew-if and you've got the wrong details on there. In fact, there was a company, let me see what they called, divorce recovery workshop. Not my clients at all. I'm part of a meetup group called WordPress Meetup Group in Cheltenham, and we're having sort of a round table, bring your problems to the table, that sort of thing. And someone put their hand up and said, I'm having a real problem getting his client, the divorce recovery workshop, to have the correct opening hours, because it was always saying 24 hours, which they weren't. And so that information was coming from somewhere, it wasn't being reset. And I think like me, in the duplicate entry, this guy kept saying, no, these are the hours, and it kept resetting them. What you need to do is get someone else to change those details for you. So a little tip on this is if you can get someone else with a Google account to go on and suggest an edit to that listing, then you can make sure those details are changed. That is if you don't have access to it, or it just disregards your changes and wants to set them back. It's always worth getting someone external, and I'm more than happy to do that. It's quite fun, but having all the power of a god to be able to go in and make those changes, which even the listing owner sometimes can't do. So moving on here, what else have we got? So phone number, yes. So make sure you've got the right phone number in there. Make sure that's up to date. You could also, here's a little tip, you could also put in an alternative phone number. So some of our customers have multiple phone numbers or a bank of inbound numbers that they can use for different purposes. And it might be that you set up different numbers for different traffic sources. So you could have a Google My Business number. So when someone rings in on that, you know where they came from. And this can be really valuable when you're knowing how much effort to spend on your marketing. We don't have any dedicated numbers, so that's just our regular 0800 number in there. Also, I don't know if you can see up on the right here, you've got a Google Ads location extension phone number. And this is useful if you're using Google Ads and you've linked it in with Google My Business, then it can actually pull through that telephone number and show that on your website too. And the benefit, on the ad too. The benefit to that is, again, you might have an ads specific telephone number because you want to know how many people are actually calling you from Google AdWords, because you want to know whether the amount you're paying is effective and how many customers are coming through. So if you've got a different number, you can actually pop that into that space there. And I've got a little tip on how you might use that more on your website, which I'm going to come to later. Okay, so moving down the list here, we've got something new actually, and this is something I've only noticed recently. I certainly wasn't notified about it, and it's a short name. Much like many other social media accounts or online accounts, you can have a short version, so short version of your name, so that people can go to your listing quite quickly. So you can edit that. and put in something nice and neat rather than I think it would generate a random sequence of characters, and that's not very nice to send to people. So you can actually put something in, like I put rather -inventive -marketing, and that actually generates me a nice little link, which I will click on here. I'll just paste it in so you can see it. So if you go to g.page/rather-inventive -marketing, that's going to take people right to the correct place. And so that's a much neater URL for you to place into emails. If people need locations or a direction, you've got a nice landing point there. I think otherwise, if I just click on the URL again, it looks something a little bit like this, which is a little bit gnarly and not very nice. So I suggest you keep that nice and short. I've just used the same name, and just bear in mind, it says it can only be changed 3 times a year. So that's just to stop people using it for optimization purposes. If at all that has a benefit, I don't know. So that's quite new. So make sure you've got that in. You can also make sure you've got your links in here. So there's your main web link and an appointment URL. Now, actually, until recently, I didn't use the appointment URL, but what I've done here is made it go straight to the contact page. So let's have a look at our listing here. And so we've got two links. We've got one which takes us straight to the website, and we've got the appointment URL, which at the moment only takes people to the contact page. But in the future, I'll be looking to have a way for people to quickly book a call or a meeting to set something up with me quite quickly, in which case I can swap it for that. But there's no reason why you can't link to a contact page or a lead form or something like that if there is a way that people want to get in touch and sort of contact you now. So do make sure that you put those two in. They're exactly the same. So we've got the website address here. I'll explain the code afterwards in a minute, and the appointment URL here. So this code, actually this little tip, and I haven't thought about this before, and I've only just put this in, so we'll see how it goes. But this was a little tip from a website called Whitespark, and they're based in America, and they focus a lot on sort of search engine, local search. And one of the things they recommend to do is put in this UTM source code in. And what this does is it's a little bit of additional information, which when it's sent to your website, this will get pulled into Google Analytics. And it means then you can start seeing much more easily who's come through from Google My Business rather than just Google search. So as I said, I've not tried this yet, so it'd be interesting to see how this manifests itself and whether it's useful. But we're talking about measurability and making sure that the work you're doing has an outcome that's useful to your business. This is something that could be quite useful in terms of determining, if I put more effort into Google My Business, am I getting more traffic through? So it's worth adding, and you can just use the code I've got here. I will make sure it's in the listing for you to use. So I'll just copy that out and put it in here at the moment. I hope that makes sense. That code actually, and it's a bit too much to go into detail in this particular workshop, but that code is really useful to generate and put on anything where you are getting links inbound to your site. Certainly if you're paying for it or putting an investment in time, if you can generate links like this and tag them with specific campaign names, then it's going to give you such a much better idea about all of the effort you're doing online, and when it comes back to your website, where the traffic is coming from. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, just leave a question and I'll come back to that later when I go back into the webinar console. So we've looked at links. Make sure your website link is in there, and if you can, put an appointment URL as well. Okay, so moving on to services. This is sort of been developed over time, and it might be different depending on what you see in or what categories you've selected in your for your profile. It could be that you've got products in there if you're more of a product related business, like if you sell cars, for example. For me, because we're a service-based industry, that's what we've got here. So let me click in and give you an example of what it looks like. Now, again, they used to just show all the services that you provide, and they've recently started splitting them into different categories. So what it's done is, I had put all these products in, I don't know when, some of them are slightly out of date, so I do need to go back in and change them, just in terms of what we do now. But it's put them all under the primary marketing category or marketing agency. And only this one, the company website design, have I moved more recently while I was preparing for this presentation, this webinar. So what you'll find now is this: if you've got services in there, for each category that you've added into your listing, you will be able to add services against it. Now, it's a little bit non-intuitive in the way it works, but I will just go through a quick example to show you. So let's go into web development, click add service. We don't have that service here, so we want to add a custom service, and it might be e-commerce website design, and I'm going to confirm that, and then I've got to apply that. Now it'll add a new service in, and then I can go in and add some more detail to that. So let's put in, off the top of my head, I'll have to delete this one afterwards, and we'll go from let's put £2,000. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't put that in. £2,000, and just a short description in there as well, and then apply that. And then where relevant, people can then dive in and see those products and services. I'm not sure how much value I've had out of this right now. So in terms of effort put in, it's difficult to know, especially if you've got lots of products or services, exactly what you put in here. But I would certainly try it. I would certainly try out some of the key, maybe good selling products or things you want to be known for, and list them in here, and then see what you get out of it. And do let me know. I'd like to get some feedback on this, because I've just not seen good response, certainly with our listing. Let me go and delete that one, as it's not true. Brilliant. But I recommend you go into each of these and add services or products where relevant. I think products have a slight advantage that you can buy online and you can link people straight to where those products are, which is slightly better. So yeah, spend a little bit of time in here. Make sure it's up to date. I think it's worthwhile, certainly worth reviewing, to make sure, like me, there may be some out of date services in here. Make sure the prices are right, descriptions are right, and so on. But let's go back to info again. Just finish off a few things in here. One that might be interesting is highlights. So if we move our way down, we've got this area here called highlights. And if I click on this, there's no way for me to add my own highlights in here. But what I can do is Google will suggest highlights based, again, on the category that I can add into this particular section. Women-led. No, it's not, unfortunately. It's man-led in this particular instance. But if you had a business, a service-orientated business, and you had a woman at the top who is sort of leading the business, then you might want to tick that, because that's an attribute that stands out. So really, I've got nothing to show you on this. So I'm going to swap over to Sync Green Farm, one of our customers, and show you what it looks like when they've selected their highlights and attributes in there. So here's Sync Green Farm. They're a bed and breakfast, completely different category to us, so they get some different attributes they can add. So these are the ones they have. They top rated, free breakfast, pet friendly, they definitely are. Fitness center. Now, depends how you look at that. I might want to speak to Sue about that, because they do have a spa, but I'm not sure if you call that a fitness center. So it's always worth looking through that, because I have noticed that Google will want to add other highlights that it thinks are relevant to your business, and you want to make sure that they don't add them without your knowledge. So it's certainly worth checking. And for some industries, very relevant as well, because you can see they stand out a lot more. Okay, back to this. If you're a new business, you can put an opening date on there. Not relevant to most people, I don't think. And a description, which is this bit just above. So this was something they had for a long time, then it took out. It's back in again. It doesn't It doesn't really help on ranking, so it doesn't help in terms of you getting found, but it could help with conversions. So it gives that little bit of extra information about your business. So maybe a short paragraph in there explaining what you can do and how you help people. So I've got a short one here. We get better leads and more conversions with Rather Inventive, and personally, I help passionate people build an ethical and sustainable approach to online marketing, or that's what I try and do. Do that through focused training and creative support. The team and I can help you understand your customer better, as well as crafting the right text and video content to reach them and create sustainable leads. So that is something where you might want to monitor that and change what's in it depending on the conversions you're getting through and whether this can help convert more people. So I think just in terms of the basic listing, that's it. Very quick walkthrough, and I'm just take you through the key areas again. Want to make sure the title is up to date and it's correct. Include keywords if you can. Make sure you've got the primary category is the most relevant to your business, because that's what drives everything else, and then add in as many other categories as are relevant. If you are a shop or you accept customers coming to your location or office, then do put your location in. Otherwise, use service areas if you're a company like us and you go out to meet people and work where they are. Make sure you've got your correct business hours, as these can be sort of set by default from other listings. So make sure they're correct. And if you've got any special hours, you can add those in. It usually comes up that as you move throughout the year and you get certain social occasions coming up, like Easter, then you'll get a prompt to change some of those dates. Make sure the telephone number is correct. If you do have a special telephone number you can dedicate to Google My Business, then do that. And remember, put one in for ads if you're using that as well, and you've linked the two together. Use a short name. I'm not sure how useful this is to a lot of people, but it might be, certainly if you want to share the link to people, to make sure they have a location, they've got a link to your location, so you need to send them a map, for example, then you can use that. I'll make sure there's a link so you can see an example from us. Link to your website, maybe use the Google campaign code in there, and appointment URL if you've got one, or just the contact page might work. Dive into the services and add any services that are relevant to your categories. Again, I'm not sure how much work you want to put in before you start seeing a return on that, but definitely get sort of main services in there. It's definitely worth doing. Highlights, definitely add highlights in there. If you've got any attributes that apply to you, make sure they are selected, and your description. So that's the main areas there. What I want to look at now is photos and videos. So let's go to that section. You can actually see it down the bottom. It's a whole new section on the left here. Now, more recently, I've actually gone through and sort of filled out the profile. And again, like many things, depending on the category you've picked, you'll get different options at the top. I've just got video, at work, team, and identity, but many other people will have things like 360. They might have inside and outside their office if they're a store. So that can be really useful. But things to put in here are anything that can showcase your business. So let's have a look at the at work ones. So I've got a lot of pictures of me. I've been more recently taking selfies whenever I do workshops. It's difficult to get those right, particularly if you've got loads of people in. My arms just isn't long enough. But that's been working quite well. And the thing I like about those selfies is they just show me and other people hopefully having a good time, and just gives people an example of the sorts of people I work with, where I work with, and maybe give them an impression about what I'm like. There's a few professional photos there that were taken, but most of the rest are my own. So that gives people an example of at work, what I do at work. And I'm doing more of that now. I post a lot of these sort of images to LinkedIn. They might go on our newsletter. They might go on our website. But I'm going to start putting on to Google My Business as well, and see if that having those sort of regular updates gives our business profile a little bit more credibility. And I'll be monitoring that over a period of time, really, to see what happens there. Also got team photos. So these are all the guys and gals who are part of Inventive People who work there. So I've put these team members as you may be working with one or more of them. So they go in there as well. Identity. These are two important things, really, because they'll make up some of the content that shows on your Google profile. So you've got the cover photo. That is the dominant photo that you want to show on your listing. So make sure that's in there. Otherwise, it might pick something else. And also put your logo in. Also, if you've got video, put them in. So what I've done here is put in the testimonials we've got. There's just a few testimonials we've got in video. I'm looking to collect more over a period of time, but I've put all of those in there so that people can play them. Now, let's see how this is coming through. In fact, let's just go here and we'll search for Rather Inventive. In fact, I'll do it from the knowledge panel. And I can show you how that all comes through. So Rather Inventive, I will search for the 2 words because that's probably how most people would. And we can see here's the cover photo popping up. You can see the area I serve, and this is based on those service areas. So that's what's quite useful to see that. You've got all this other information about when I'm open and closed. It's quite useful. You might have noticed this on other people's profiles or shops. When you're searching for them, it tells you, are they open at the moment? Are they closed? I use that for our local store in Campbell as well. Very useful. What reviews you've got. Here is the start of the description. So that's where it comes in. That's why it can be quite useful for a conversion. And then all of the media you upload is either accessed via this link. So click on see more photos, or you can see like a little mini stream of information. And you'll notice a little offer there, which I'm going to come back to in a minute. So if people wanted to see, oh, that looks like an exciting photo, they can click on that and go and see more photos of the business. And hopefully that looks like a nice, exciting company to work with. And here's the videos as well that people can click through if they want testimonials. Now, annoyingly, in some way, well, actually, it's not in some way. Annoyingly, you can't just upload videos you've already. Matt, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you there. You can't upload videos that you've already got on YouTube, which all of these are. I had to download them and then re-upload them onto Google My Business, which is a real pain, to be honest. And they used to have that link, and they've sort of moved that link away, which is very frustrating. Also, yes, shout out to the professional photographer Sally Corrick. Actually, she came along to one of my Fastershire workshops with Jack there, took some great photos of me in action. So thank you, Sally, for that. But it's really good. So this could give people a feel really for your business, who you work with. Particularly in my industry, it's like I want people to think that they, when they work with me, it's going to be fun, exciting, and that actually there's quite a mix of people, young and old, male, female, who want to come along to my workshop. So, you know, this for me is a really good way of demonstrating that. And of course, there's no reason you have to just keep them siloed in Google My Business. All of these photos you'll be taking or should be taking for your social media anyway. So it's just a case of making sure that they're on here as well. Okay, let's go back, close that down, go back to photos. Yeah, so that's really useful. If you are a company who like have a store or some internal space which is accessible to the public, you can even get 360s. Now, let me see, does Sync Green Farm have one on there? They certainly have a 360. I'm going to see if they have it on here. Yes, so Sync Green Farm, there is an external company who works with Google, and what they can do is come along to your business and take these 360 photos and move through your premises, taking these snapshots and putting them into fully movable 360s. So actually, they've got an example of it here. I think it's taking its time to load, but you can see there's a bit of a 360 here. I can zoom around and see their hot tub or sports facility. There we are, lovely. And the nice thing about this is then you can walk through the business. So if you're a property like Sync Green Farm, it's really useful for people to be able to see the different rooms of the house and where they can and can't do, what they can. Can I go in there? I'm not allowed in there. Oh, it's like a little quest adventure. So yeah, actually they're really, really useful to be able to do that. If anyone's interested, I can. You really might want to work with local companies. But there are a couple of companies that I know of that I can put you in touch with if you're interested in doing that sort of thing. Something else, yeah, making sure you've got inside and outside photos, especially if you're something like a B&B or a place where people really coming for some of the scenery and outdoor views, I would take as many as you can that are relevant, certainly like on this one on beautiful sunny days. I think that's definitely relevant. Let me close that down now. So sort of rundown for these photos and videos, definitely worth doing. I'll have them on there, particularly if you're in an industry where someone is looking to come and see you. I think it's worthwhile. So anything that showcases your business, make sure you've got your identity on there, business logo, and the cover image, particularly important. If you've got your team, cover shots on there for the profile photos, team in action, maybe how they're them supporting customers, they're working away. And if your category allows it, having 360 and inside and outside of your office and store where relevant. Videos, you could now start customizing this, having a play around. So it could be something like a welcome video or a tour that you've made of your store, what your company stands for, and how you stick out from the competition. That's just something I should do. So I'm going to put that down as one of the things I'm going to commit to, is adding some more specific videos on here about how we work. Maybe you want to talk about your company mission, vision and goals. You could take people on a sort of tour of daily operations. Maybe if you're veterinary practice, you might want to take them through and show them some examples of staff doing work, so they get to meet some of the people before they come along. Customer testimonials, as I've done, that could be really useful. Maybe employee interviews or owner interviews. You could even do FAQs. That's something I haven't done, but actually I really want to do that. So I think that's another commitment I'll make, is to just answer some questions, do it in video, and then they can go onto Google My Business. But the great thing is you can put them onto YouTube and put them on your website too. Okay, just a couple of other things as we come to the end of the hour that I will touch on is posts. Now, Google used to be part of, or have their own system called Google+, which was their own social media platform, which they've got rid of now. But they still have some element of the posting. And you could see that if I go back to our knowledge panel. So let's find us here. Oops. So if you go back to our knowledge panel, you can see that there's a few updates. So if you add media, you add posts, they're going to get to show on this little sort of carousel here. And you can scroll through and see what they've been up to. Now, some of the things that will be useful to you are sharing little updates, like a mini blog, if you will. And you can all do that through posts. You could, if you've got any events coming up you want to invite people to, you can add those on, or an offer. So I've done an example of an offer. And so to create a new offer, let's go through one together. You just click on posts and then add offer. And the nice thing about an offer, it's going to stay until your end date. I've just got some text here, so let's pop this in. So I'm going to say 20% off the Inventive Marketing Club. Hey, that's a bargain. Till the end of the month. So let's start now and till the end of that, on the end of the year, in fact. Great. I've got an image on my desktop, so we'll pop that in. Wait for that to upload. And that's great, but there's not a huge amount there. You can actually add some additional options, and this is what makes it really useful. So I click on that, and I have a voucher code. So let's pop that in. DM Kickstart for 20% off. That's pretty good. Some additional information. Learn how to stop procrastinating and get on with promoting your business. Absolutely. So let's put that in offer details. And then this is the good bit. This is when we can link out to the site, and not just link out to the rather Inventive site as is attached to the profile, but link out to the Inventive people site where people can actually get this offer. So link to redeem offer, pop that in there. If it's time related, you can click that, but apart from that, that's everything we need in there. So let's click preview, and I can now see what this offer looks like, and I can redeem it directly online. How fab is that? So that might be worth experimenting with. Your mileage may vary. Again, as I said, this is not something I've played with much. So in terms of preparing for this, I've spent a bit of time playing with it. I don't know the results of how effective this is yet, but I will report back and let you know how well this is done in terms of what, the additional exposure it gets to the sites that you want to, or the offers you want to promote. Just in terms of anything else you want to promote, if it's a little mini updates, maybe you've got a new team member or you've done something interesting, then you can pop that in here. It only lasts for 7 days though, which is a bit of a shame. Again, you've just got a photo which you need to have, and you can write a post in there. Now, it's it looks very small, but apparently you can have up to 1,000 words in there, which is almost a blog post. Well, it pretty much is a blog post. So you can get quite a bit of text in there, and then you've got different buttons that allow you to do different things. A little hack apparently is if you want that post to kick around a bit longer, make it an event instead. So you can actually give it an end date and give some additional details. I don't like doing that sort of thing, but if that works for you, if you've got something really important you want to stick around, then make it an event. Or if you actually have an event, a workshop or a customer seminar coming up, make sure that's listed on here. So these are some of the things I'm going to be using over the next year to see if we get a bit more from them. Okay, questions and answers. So this is really useful, and you'll see this on the front page. So people can ask you questions. So they can, if there's something isn't clear, they can ask you a question here, and you can then provide a public answer, and then people can see that themselves, or everyone can see that, not just the person who asked that question. The problem with it, from what I can see, is I've not been able to get a response back in terms of where those questions from the public go. So I think for now, you might want to keep an eye on that to see if people are asking questions. It may be that it's gone into my spam, although I didn't see it there, but those questions aren't coming through, which is a bit of a shame, but do keep an eye. However, what you could do, and I think it's probably worth doing this to stave off people asking questions that are obvious or ones you can get across really quickly, is to ask and answer those questions yourself. And you can do that by just asking a question here, and then clicking on See All Questions and answering it. And so you could just put your, so I've asked one here, can you provide in-house company training? Here's my answer, yes, I can do that. And I can actually post that on. So now that becomes an actual answer that people can see if they click on that. So that's really useful in terms of, to stop people asking those questions, you can actually start maybe generating a small FAQ yourself. And again, that could be a good way to put that content on there. You can also put it on your website, or vice versa. If you have an FAQ on your website, you can bring it through to this. So it might be worth experimenting with a few Q&As and seeing whether that is useful in terms of just getting, having more of those questions answered before people engage with you. Oh yeah, the other thing you might want to do is ask clients to ask questions for you rather than you posing everything yourself. Maybe get other people to do that for you and answer them. It might look a bit like more engagement. One of the big benefits of having a Google My Business profile are reviews. I think reviews are incredibly important in terms of how you are featured in the map pack. We've only got 5 reviews. I'd like to get more reviews. And it's not that people won't review, I just haven't asked yet. So I would definitely suggest going out to customers and asking them to get more reviews. And if you want, there is, if you remember, I did a Inventive marketing workshop on how to get 5-star reviews. That is number 5. So do go back to the club webinar pages and preview that, go through that, and that'll help give you an idea about how to get those reviews. But once you do, you can actually send them through to your either knowledge panel, or using the link you've generated straight through to your map page. And then from there, with a little bit of difficulty, but from there they can actually then go and write a review. Now there is an actual, an even easier link to get there, but I may add it back into the notes because it was on and off as to whether it was working. I think it's got better now. It's actually working more consistently. So if that is the case, I'll make sure that link goes into the notes. Otherwise, that's really useful. Getting people to review you on here means that you're going to have more chance of being found in that 3-pack of companies. When you do get reviews, however, I do recommend you respond to them. So let me take you to my page on that. So here are all reviews we've got, and for every single one, I've gone back in and have been just thanked them. And you want to particularly do this if you get negative reviews. Don't take it personally. Maybe go and have a cup of tea, just calm down once someone's berated you and said something nasty about you, and go in and just be reasonable and talk to them as if you would almost face to face and sort of ask questions. If you can and you know who that customer is, do get in touch with them and try and ask if they can revise their review once you've helped them rectify it. Otherwise, make sure your comment is public for everyone else to see, because that's the best way of, people are intelligent. They won't just read a bad review and take that one bad review as your company is bad. But if they see mainly positive reviews and they see good engagement from the company, then they'll take that on balance. So I think it's definitely worth responding to every single review, particularly if it's negative. And also, if you do have Say Hola, I'll just quickly show you this. If you've got Say Hola, make sure that when you you log in and go onto your settings, and make sure if you have your Google Maps profile in there, because in doing so, you will be able to possibly get people to write a review for you and then maybe give you a Google Business Review as well. I'll just quickly show you how that works. So to get the Google Map URL, it's a bit awkward, but I take you through it. Basically, you need to go to Google Maps, search for the company name, and go up to the top. And everything after place / you copy that and paste it in to the Google Maps URL in Say Hola. Update the details. And then actually, if we go and just give myself a test review. So let's go to Dashboard, View Public Scorecard, Rate. And I'm going to try Test, Send Feedback. What that will do when you put that URL in is it'll enable the Google My Business profile page here. When they click on that, it's going to give them instructions on how to write a review. So if you need that customer needs that little bit of impetus, that help to do so, then this can be a good way of doing it. Okay, just a few other tips. We talked about duplicate listings, or any inconsistencies or problems on your listing. If you are finding that you cannot update or change those details and they keep being reset back, maybe you've got a duplicate listing and it keeps coming back again. First, I would go on and suggest an edit. So I can't do it on here. Let me go to Sync Green Farm again. So if I go to Sync Green Farm, then I am able to suggest an edit on here. I'm just trying to find it. Here it is. So just down the bottom, I can suggest an edit, and then I can go through and just update the details if I think they're incorrect. You should certainly do that yourself first. If you can't do that, ask someone else to do it, because often someone who's not related to the business, not connected to the business, is going to have a bit more power to be able to make that change. So definitely do that. It worked in the case study I mentioned before. Call tracking on your website. Yeah, I'll just show you this really cool example that we implemented for Selmac. So I talked about having different numbers for different source traffic. So this is an example of how it works with Selmac. If I go to, I'm going to bring up a private window here, and we'll just search for Selmac. Brilliant. So I've gone straight to the website, scroll down to the bottom where the number is, and we can see their number ending 580. So that's their sort of general number where we don't know where they've come from. That's their normal number. If, however, we come in via YouTube, we should see that number will actually change. And this is pretty cool. So I'm actually going to bring that, yes, in a new tab, should bring you a private browsing window. And the important thing here is it's got to be private browsing because it stores a cookie as to where they came from, and that lasts for 30 days. So it means if someone bounces in from YouTube and it gives them that number and they come back again within that 30-day period, it's going to make sure it keeps showing them that YouTube number. So let's go into YouTube. I'm just going to copy this link here, paste it in. One of Selmac's great videos. This is of a laser machine, which is awesome. I just love watching these. But if I click the link that's in the description, then we go through to that specific product page. However, all the telephone numbers on the website, not just the one down the bottom, but anytime the main number is mentioned, it dynamically swaps it out with some clever JavaScript because it knows it's come from YouTube. And now we've got 577 rather than 580. Very clever. So if you've got a phone system where you've got multiple numbers coming in, or you can attribute multiple numbers coming in, it's a really good way to just help refine down that source information. So a very small example here. One final thing I'll just mention is Apple Maps Connect. Now, let me just bring it up here. I'm not going to go through exactly how this works, but I said that having Google My Business profile is important to make sure that you've got your address correct and that everything is up to date. Well, it's the same for Apple Maps as well, because Google Maps is just one element or there's one set of people who will be using Google Maps. Another whole set of people are using Apple Maps, just like me. So you've got to make sure that those details are up to date as well. So I'm just going to quickly mention, go to mapsconnect.apple.com, log in with your Apple ID. It can be only your own personal one, or you might want to make up one for the business, and go and claim your listing. And if your listing's on there already, and go through and make sure you add all the correct details and you verify it. You make sure it's correct. So make sure your listing is correct and it's verified. By doing so, you'll have access to make changes to it, and your the exact pin location will be correct as well, which is really important when people are coming to visit you. Brilliant. I think that's everything. I'm going to stop screen sharing now and come back to our slides. Brilliant. So we're at the end of it. We're a little bit over. It's the first one that's just gone over time. I'm just going to finish off very quickly now. So what are you going to commit to action? I said that I'm going to commit to doing some videos, really, some FAQ videos, and uploading more frequently pictures of our workshops and things that we're doing. I want to experiment with whether that is going to bring in new business and make our profile look more exciting than maybe other marketing companies. So if you've got anything interesting like that, do share it. Claire, you said, I made some changes as followed your demo and the tag has appeared to say it's being reviewed. So is Google reviewing this, or is there something else I need to approve elsewhere? No, that just means Google's bot or a person will be reviewing that. So you don't need to do anything. It's just saying until that has been approved, it may not show on your profile, on your public profile. So yeah, you don't need to do anything, just sit tight. I don't think we've got time for Q&A, but in the Clubhouse afterwards, feel free to post any questions on this. I'm happy to continue talking about it. So the next topic, I've got some exciting ones. This is going to be for next year. So we've been doing this whole 12 months. So this will be the 13th one next year. So I've got lined up here, productivity masterclass. Nothing really to do with marketing, but I think anyone who does marketing, the better you can be at it, the more you can get done. Because really, marketing is about being able to produce content on a regular basis. So if anyone's interested in that, I'm happy to share what I know, because I do love productivity. Setting up a Google ad, and this is actually, we've got a whole workshop on this where I focus going through the stage of setting up a Google ad, as well as talking about ads in general. And this is a new one as well, producing a client testimonial video. So going through how you might do that in person or online, and some tips and tricks that you can use to make those better. Karen, you will add some more pics and videos. Yeah, well done. Good. Yeah, I think it's quite, I quite like Google My Business. I think they have improved it and have focused it a little bit more from where it was. So I'm really pleased with the development of it. Hopefully they won't ruin it this time. If you're not a club member, don't forget you can join the IMC for only £250 for 12 months. You get access to everything we've already produced. Everything I've shown you, all of these 12 videos, including this one, and all of the tools and the process and access to the community. That's all in there. And as you saw, there's a code, DM Kickstart, where you can get 20% off for that full year. So do get in touch about that. And if you prefer to pay monthly, just get in touch with me, hello@rather-inventive.com, and I'll sort something out for you. So thank you very much. Oh, I didn't change the date on that. So the next session will be on the 4th of each month. And so we'll be looking at, in January there, the 28th we'll be looking at. So let's put the poll in for the topic and then we can finish off. So I'll say that out and see what we're going to get. We've got advertising essentials, productivity masterclass, or producing client testimonial videos. So far, productivity masterclass wins. Anyone else? Going, gone. Excellent, good. I love that. There's so many things we can talk about. We will probably definitely go over time on that one. Okay, thank you so much. Really good to have you on board. And if I don't see you before, and many of you I won't, Have a lovely Christmas, however you're going to celebrate it. Hopefully it's going to be nice and relaxed with the people you care about, and you're going to come back refreshed in January to just get more stuff done. So I look forward to seeing you then. All right, bye for now.